Frank used to be a special forces soldier, but now he works as a driver, transporting important items. Precision and commitment are what matter most to Frank, and he lives by three crucial rules. The first rule is that he never changes or modifies an agreement. The second rule is that no one should know his name, and he doesn't want to know anyone else's. The third rule is that he never opens the packages he delivers, no matter what. One day, Frank goes to make a delivery, driving to a bank where a gang is robbing it. He waits in his car to pick them up, uninterested in what they have because his job is just to deliver them. 4 gang members enter the car, but Frank refuses to move because they agreed on 3 passengers, not 4. He tells them he can't change or modify the rules. The gang threatens to kill him if he doesn't drive, but Frank calmly informs them that the car only works with a password, so they won't be able to drive it. The gang leader offers him a large sum of money to move the car, but Frank remains steadfast. The leader is forced to kill one of the members and remove the body from the car. Only then does Frank drive away. The police arrive and begin chasing them, but Frank's exceptional driving skills allow him to evade them. Despite being surrounded at one point, he manages to escape after a long chase and eventually delivers the remaining gang members to the agreed location. The gang leader gives Frank the agreed amount along with a generous tip, asking him to deliver them to a specific area. However, Frank returns the extra money, insisting that he never amends deals. Respecting his professionalism, the gang members leave and take another taxi to make their escape. Frank then changes the car's license plate back to its original state and drives away from the scene. Back at home, Frank meticulously cleans his car, ensuring it's spotless as always. While watching the news, he sees a report about 3 people who were arrested for robbing the bank. They were the same individuals he had just transported. The news reveals that their arrest was due to the incompetence of the taxi driver they hired, who caused a traffic accident that led to their capture by the police. As he continues watching the broadcast, Frank hears a knock on his door. Opening it, he finds his neighbor, Tarconi, who is also a police officer. Tarconi has always been a bit suspicious of Frank due to his quiet nature and his habit of keeping his car immaculately clean. Tarconi informs Frank that a car similar to his was seen carrying the bank robbers and that the police have recorded the license plate number. He asks to see Frank's car to verify its plates. Without hesitation, Frank leads Tarconi to his car, confident that his meticulous adherence to his rules has kept him safe. Tarconi examines the license plate and realizes it doesn't match the one they are searching for. Apologizing for the intrusion, Tarconi mentions that he'll come over for coffee later to make up for the misunderstanding. Just as Tarconi leaves, Frank receives a phone call. The voice on the other end asks him to make another delivery. Frank listens carefully to the details, then prepares to head out. His task is to deliver a package to a specific address, and despite the potential risks, he adheres to his principles of precision and commitment. He gets into his car, ready for the next job, knowing that as long as he follows his rules, he will continue to navigate the dangerous world he operates in with skill and professionalism. Frank agrees to the mission and explains his 3 important rules to the person hiring him. They finalize the details of the process. The next day, Frank goes to receive the package he must deliver to a specific location. The person he made the deal with arrives, places the package in Frank's car, and leaves. Frank doesn't check the contents of the package, adhering to his rule of never opening what he's transporting. As he drives to the specified address, Frank encounters a problem halfway through the journey, a flat tire. While changing the tire, he is surprised to find that the package in his car contains a person. Despite this, he sticks to his rule and doesn't investigate further. He finishes changing the tire and continues with the delivery. After a while, Frank stops at a store to grab some food. While eating, he can't stop thinking about the person in the package. He decides to break his rule and open it. Inside, he finds a girl named Lai. Though he doesn't untie her, he gives her something to drink before placing her back in the package, locking the trunk, and resuming the delivery. As he drives, Frank notices that Lai is moving around a lot in the trunk. He pulls over to the side of the road and asks her not to scream so they can talk. Lai tells him she needs to use the bathroom. Frank ties a rope around her neck to prevent her from escaping and allows her to go into the forest to relieve herself. Minutes later, when Lai doesn't respond to his calls, Frank searches for her and discovers she has tied the rope to a tree and run away. After a long search, he finds her and angrily brings her back to the car. However, he is suddenly confronted by two police officers standing in front of his car. When the policemen saw Frank with a tied-up girl who looked like a kidnapped victim, they immediately attacked him. However, Frank managed to overpower them, leaving them unconscious. He then continued to the address to deliver the package. Upon arrival, the recipient asked if Frank had seen what was inside. Frank firmly responded that he never opens packages and doesn't care about their contents. Despite Frank's reassurances, the man remained suspicious. The man then asked Frank to carry out another package transfer. Frank agreed, and they discussed all the details. Frank took the package and the payment, intending to complete the new task. Before proceeding with the delivery, he decided to stop at a restaurant for lunch and some rest. However, as he approached his car, it exploded. Realizing he had been set up, Frank understood that the man had tried to kill him with a bomb. Fueled by anger, Frank returned to the man's house and eliminated his guards one by one. After taking down all the men, Frank searched for their boss but couldn't find him. Meanwhile, Lai tried to escape during the chaos. Once Frank had neutralized all the threats, he took one of the cars from the garage and drove away. To his surprise, Lai had hidden in the car. Frank stopped, forced her out, and angrily left her by the roadside. But as he drove away, he began to feel sorry for her. After a while, he turned back and picked her up. He took Lai to his home, provided her with food, and then went to bed, leaving her to rest. At this time, we see the gang leader who tried to kill Frank. His name is Street. He is visiting one of his men in the hospital, questioning him about the attack. The injured man informs Street that the driver, Frank, survived the bomb and retaliated, defeating their men. The next morning, Frank is surprised to see Lai preparing breakfast. He sits down, puzzled by her behavior. The bigger surprise comes when his neighbor, Tarconi, arrives for a visit and notices Lai in Frank's home. Tarconi asks about Lai, and Frank explains that she is his new cook. He mentions that he lives alone and needed someone to prepare meals. Tarconi then inquires about Frank's car. Frank lies, saying it was stolen the previous day and he was planning to report it to the police. Tarconi informs him that the car exploded in front of a restaurant yesterday, witnessed by two policemen. Frank feigns ignorance, claiming he knew nothing about the incident. Believing Frank, but still suspicious, Tarconi asks him and Lai to come to the police station. Tarconi explains that he will be handling the case of Frank's car theft and wants to ask them some questions. Frank agrees, but once Tarconi leaves, he senses something is wrong and talks to Lai. Suddenly, a missile fired by Street and his men hits Frank's house, followed by relentless gunfire. Frank quickly takes Lai to the basement to escape. They navigate through the sewers, managing to evade detection and escape. Afterwards, Frank and Lai head to the police station to meet with Tarconi. Upon arrival, they find Tarconi already aware of the explosion at Frank's house. As they enter Tarconi's office, Frank prepares to explain the situation, hoping to gain an ally in the unfolding chaos. Tarconi begins questioning Lai and Frank about the explosion. Frank claims that he and Lai were out when it happened and returned to find the house burnt. Tarconi then asks about the shooting, but Frank insists they were not home and know nothing about it. Just then, Tarconi's boss calls him away, leaving Frank and Lai alone in the office. Taking advantage of the situation, Lai sits at Tarconi's desk and uses his computer to find information on the person who has been stalking them. She discovers that his name is Street. When Tarconi returns, he doesn't notice anything amiss and allows them to leave. However, once he opens his computer, he realizes they used it and were looking for someone named Street. Outside, Lai asks Frank to help her find Street. Initially, Frank refuses, but Lai reveals that there is a ship transporting 400 kidnapped people to be sold into slavery, and among them are her father and brothers. She explains that Street is the key to reaching the ship. Moved by her plea, Frank agrees to help. Frank and Lai manage to track down Street and enter his office. Frank holds Street at gunpoint, while Lai searches through his files for information on the ship. Street taunts Lai, telling her that her father will come to the office to punish her. Frank is shocked, as Lai had told him her father was one of the kidnapped. Street insists that Lai has been lying to Frank. At that moment, a man named Kui enters the office. He is revealed to be Lai's father and Street's partner in the human trafficking business. Kui tries to calm Lai, urging her to put down the gun. Reluctantly, she complies. Kui then orders his men to kill Frank, but Street stops them, informing Kui that Officer Tarconi is on his way to investigate Street's connection to Frank and Lai. One of Street's men punches Frank, causing him to lose consciousness. When Tarconi enters the office, Street tells him to arrest Frank for kidnapping Lai, claiming Frank came to collect ransom money for her release. Tarconi takes Frank into custody, but senses something is wrong. When Frank regains consciousness, Tarconi shares what Street said. Frank reveals the truth about the ship and the people on board, pleading with Tarconi to release him so he can rescue them quickly, something the police might take too long to do. Convinced, Tarconi agrees. To facilitate Frank's escape, Tarconi pretends to be his hostage. They manage to leave the police station, and Frank heads to the ship's location using a small boat. Upon arrival, he systematically eliminates Kui and Street's men. Realizing Frank is on the ship, Kui and Street alter their plan, transferring the abductees into large trucks surrounded by security cars. Frank kills everyone guarding the trucks and commandeers a car to chase the two trucks carrying the kidnapped people. However, the car breaks down. Spotting a farmer's plane, Frank commandeers it, forcing the farmer to fly him to the trucks. Parachuting from the plane, Frank lands on one of the trucks, causing a collision with one of the escort cars. After taking control of the truck by throwing out the driver, Frank is confronted by Street inside. They engage in a fierce fight, which ends with Frank killing Street. As Frank pulls over to the side of the road, Kui appears and holds him at gunpoint, forcing him to follow. They arrive at a secluded location where Kui attempts to kill Frank, but is suddenly shot. To Frank's shock, it is Lai who has pulled the trigger. She breaks down over what she has done, and Frank comforts her, holding her as she cries. Meanwhile, Tarconi and the police arrive to free the kidnapped individuals. Frank's mission is complete, having saved 400 people from becoming slaves. The movie concludes with Frank and Lai finding solace in each other amidst the chaos. Thank you for watching.